They say here it's started all by at least 1843, if not 1869, right? The tubes. The mail train is the deepest tunnel. They're saying that the tunnelling work was completed in 1917, but because of the war it wasn't finished until 1923, something like that. But here you can clearly see, let's put it down a little bit more, that in 1861 there was a pneumatic train going to the post office, Northwest District. So why would the TV programme lie? And it took me quite a lot to find all this, because I told you if you ask the question direct you never find it, and then suddenly when you're not looking for it, oh, there it is. So this one was done. I suppose really you could say, because he said the let's have a look again. I think actually I do remember thinking about this. Because there's always so much to take in that sometimes you miss things. And it says there steam trains start operating under the Thames River, and I've watched something about that, like it would have marked things and done things because of the steam. But there you go, it probably is the same thing, because look at the date. Look at the dates here and look where it's going to. It's going to the post office. So this is telling you where it's going, but they have to add. So what's that? The 60s, that's 70, 80, 90, 900, 10. They've got to add another 50 years on top and put the sort of starting it probably before the First World War, then it's finished after the First World War. So adding a few more years into this project, when it clearly states here it was there in the 1800s. Anyway, that's what this video's about. I saw this today on the TV, but I'm breaking it down because when I uploaded the video, it's a few minutes, it was copyrighted. I've used this stuff before, I've never had a problem, but I think at the moment YouTube are really going for me. They're deleting videos that maybe have been on there for 4 or 5 years. And I just find this, I was an eBayer, but you're put into this game and then they change the rules whenever they want, however they want, and don't forget, it's always protecting them first, not you. And they use that, and now they're deleting all these videos for, you know what, when you have when you're a democracy it's different. When it's totalitarianism, you delete just points of view. I'm a little person that lives in Thatcher. You know, there's no point appealing anything because they never listen. But you're not allowed to just even have an opinion. So, you know, I think what they're doing is they're drowning out the truth of what people really want and just focusing them on little doggies or people falling over and all that kind of stuff, and making the views, making channels and using those channels to direct people to them on their wacky stories and lives. And you know, I filmed a few with Amy and I've spotted a few of them, and there was a few in the Watts case. Slowly they're just trying to destroy this channel because they don't like me having a voice at all, I don't think, and trying to explain things. They see on my admin panel, they have demonetized me because I am harmful. Why am I harmful? Everything that I show comes from YouTube most of the time, because that's where I see it. So when all this stuff is being done to us, why am I the harmful one? See, this is why we're in totalitarianism, I think. and I suppose the ads do things, but you know, why do YouTube have to be so hard on everything? I think a lot of people are complaining about it right now, but it makes me want to leave, which is probably what they want. Because it's like being abused every day, because your channel's never left alone. There's some reason. But I was talking to James about it the other day, and he said that he was the one talking about it. He says, well, my views never, my subs never change, and when they do, a few add themselves, and then a few get taken off. And that's what's happened to me. So that is the shadow banning, which is not fair. It's not fair because it's not above board, because you don't really realise it's happening, if you understand what I mean. You can't see it, so you wonder why your views are going and why your subs aren't going up. You know, demonetising you, saying music's copyrighted when it could be 4 years old now, but you've got to do it because it just affects that video. But you know, why wait so long if you've got this super duper structure that can catch all this stuff? You know, it's just their way of using it so that they can get rid of people like me. I'm on BitChute, which I quite like. I'm on Odyssey, it's mirrored, so whatever goes on YouTube. And then I'm on Rumble separately, and those links are in the channel, because if I do disappear from here, I'll put videos elsewhere, because I am elsewhere. But yeah, it's just incredible the level it goes to. I feel that I'm so picked on. I don't even know whether I should say anything or not, but I see these things. So, but today, this was a bit strange because I was a bit miffed with YouTube. This place comes on, and I'm going to talk about something else a little later on.
It seems like there wasn't enough time to remove everything and clear out when you left.
If it was an area that was more accessible, you know, scavengers would have come in, people might have come in and taken stuff, you'd see graffiti, but because these tunnels were really quite deep, they really did not get picked over or stripped.
One of the programs that I do watch on our lovely televisions is abandoned abandoned engineering. Cool, and he said the wrong word then. But today on the programme was this place. Now, me and Mickey are supposed to go here. It is a 10-mile stretch of track which the Royal Mail used. Let's have a look at the picture. So I suppose this is the maps. There it is there, because it's in the video. So they use these tunnels to take the mail. These tunnels are underneath the tubes. In this video, but I'm going to have to break it up, they talk about how difficult it would be because London is built on marshland. So as you start going down, it gets more mushy, but it's quite incredible. The buildings and the big buildings have been able to stay then, isn't it? If we're on a marshy land that could sink. So they don't tell the truth, but obviously there's a lot more water down there. So they have to say marshy, but we all know now that as you dig down, there is water in the ground underneath you. I can't prove it, can I? But my feeling about these tunnels is that this is a pneumatic. These are the pneumatic trains. This is one that's left, or one they carried on using, whereas most things are abandoned Well, I suppose it is abandoned. I don't think they use it now. They have it as a museum. See, it says Postal Museum London. So it's a museum now. So it is abandoned, except you can pay to go and have a go on it. I'd like to go there and see it because, you know, me and Mickey will be looking. Oh, look, there's a tunnel down there. Oh, what's down there? Woo-hoo! You know, we want to see all the extra bits if we can. And I suppose really when you look at these are the little pneumatic train things. Because they explain, but you see, how they explain that it happens is because this is how they keep the water out. But it's and the really crazy thing is that these are built underneath the tubes. So they would have had, like, so if these are first, they built these even further down than the tubes. Like, with, you know, I just wish they would tell us the truth. And, you know, explain how, you know, everything is just a lie. But how could they build these deeper than the tubes in those days? Look. Now they're going to tell you that they were built, oh, I don't know, the end of the 1800s, early 1900s or whatever it was. And there's an explanation in here, but, you know, me and Mickey are quite into the pneumatic trains and feel that Crystal Palace was probably a station. Everybody went down to it. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to fit this into the video.
And why has it been left abandoned?
Tunnels under the rest of the train tunnels, the tubes and that in London. Just saying, by the way. They're pneumatic train tunnels, they are.
So if you have a legal contractor, you have a policy, you have a negotiation, being able to move those documents around the city quickly was part of the key to London's economic dominance.
So in this video a bit earlier on, they said that these tunnels were dug very deep. So I thought I'd go and have a look and check on it. This bit here was the 10 miles, and this is how they're explaining that the museum is to the tube. Oh, it's just like a level down. Yeah, but that's the tube, and the trains are on top of that. They look pretty pneumatic to me. So that's sort of a bit like the system, but not well. I tried to look up to see a map to see really how deep those tunnels were for the Royal Mail, and I had to do it myself. It doesn't really show. Well, one does, but it puts, see, there you go. Don't they look a bit like the Royal Mail ones? Yeah, it's just been a bit modified. This one, see, this one here. So these are the different heights, depths of these tunnels. And they put the Royal Mail one up there, but it's not. It was dug 70 feet down. So maybe that's it there. Maybe it's that one because it was 70 feet down. So it's lower than all the other tubes. How did they do that then? Because pneumatic came before the tubes, so would have been built much earlier. How did they do it then if we had horses and carts? I mean, that's a tube system. I mean, when you think about it, it's quite amazing. What did they just sort of go dring with their wand, and then suddenly there it was? Look at it all. That is the tube in London. So there you go. See, so what it is I've looked it up. It says that this one is built 70 feet down. Okay. Looks a bit like the little things in that picture with that man. And said it was built here, but oh, there you go. Let's have a look. The underground was from 19. It took 21 years from 1860 to complete the inner circle of the underground was funded entirely by private companies until 1930. Right, it took 21 years. So they're saying they built the tubes in 1863, and what I will do is I'm going to look in a minute, because I've obviously made a little video here, so I'll do it afterwards when I've done this bit, just to look up when they say the mail train was made. I really wanted a diagram to show the difference, but there you go. It's 70 feet. Oh, was that a bit of information I've just missed? Let's go back. Oh no, we're okay. So, they're 70 feet down, the mail train. And when I went over and I looked up the tubes, it says they were 58.5 metres down. So those other tubes, yeah, the mail one is 12 metres below them. Another one saying that. So in a minute I'm going to look up and see when they say. Because it doesn't say then when it was made, but I was looking up something else there. So that's fascinating, isn't it? So the mail train is the lowest one. Wow, look at that. Just as isn't the First World War round about there? 1923. And they were lower. Let's just see if I can find any pictures of the equipment they used for this train. Sorry, tube or pneumatic train, mail train thing. If this thing was made when they said it was, why doesn't it show me anything to do with the machinery? Because it was the 1920s, wasn't it? Oh, no, it's already built there, see, it's already going. Why aren't there any pictures of how they built it in the 1920s? Surely somebody would have taken a picture of it being built, but there aren't any. Look at that one there. Anyway, there aren't any pictures. That's obviously a finished one, but there aren't any pictures of it being built. Let's just see what it says in the writing side. Do you know, that's quite amazing. I'm actually doing something else. I put in pneumatic train. I tried to find it and do it because in my video I'm saying that, you know, it's a pneumatic train. And then suddenly, when I'm looking up something else, because now I want to see what machinery they used to make the train, we get to the fact that it is a pneumatic railway, the Postal Museum. So what it is in the next little bit of video, we're going to look that bit up.
It could take several hours to deliver mail from one part of the city to another. Something had to be done to speed things up. By the end of the Edwardian era, the population of London had risen to almost 7 million people. This was a time of tremendous economic growth for the city. In 1909,
a committee was set up to look into ways of solving the problem.
So of course they're saying it's the 1900s, which would mean that they put this in after some of the tube lines, because obviously a few of them have been built a bit more in the modern time, supposedly. Yeah, I want to just look up one other thing because it's just interesting. We always have to go round and round in circles just to find the very bit I want, because up in my header bar I've got what year did ships become HMS, because I noticed a few years ago when I was making a video that the ships changed. So basically they were different, because basically they were like post office ships. So they would started off as taking a lot of goods over to America and backwards and forwards, and then they turned into a thing where passengers were on them, and then obviously because we fly now, they're just passenger ships. But they had different owners, it was a different time, and it wasn't even that long ago. So I'll ask what year it was, because there it says the ships are now called MHS because of Her Royal Highness. Well, it was then, but it's His Royal Highness now. But when we look at the Titanic, it says that it was an RMS, Royal Mail Ship. Do you see that? That's what they were. It was registered as a Royal Mail Ship turned into, supposedly, a people carrier. Looked pretty ropey in the pictures I saw, but do you see that? So I'm not doing very well with the year, but we know that the Titanic went down in the early 1900s, so that tells you that ships... Let's have a look. Yeah, because it was a mail. There you go. There you go. But it doesn't really say the year, but it changed after that. See, I've got up. Whoops, get the thing in the header bar. But it doesn't tell me. I mean, here it says something about 1789, but it couldn't have been, because the Titanic was down as a Royal Mail ship. It was different. I know it says Royal Mail, but it's not the HMS. It was RMS. Yeah, I was just adding that to the video. So do you see? Yeah. Just how they can twist and turn things. You might not even realise. I don't quite know that one, but probably because it was used once, you know, like the ads, used once 25 years ago, 1,000 years ago, whatever. But here it goes. It just tells you here. And this happened after the Titanic went down. I was just adding that bit in.
Documents around, they had to go underground.
And this was the result. An underground rail track stretching 10 kilometres across London. The Mail Rail.
This is what it was about. It says that the Pneumatic Dispatch Railway conducted initial trials of a sealed pneumatic railway where carriages were moved under pressure of air above ground at Battersea in 1861. Following these trials, the company lay an underground tube between the sorting room at the post office's North West District office at whatever that is street, Eversholt Street, to beneath platform 1 of the London and Northern West Railway at Euston Station. This first carried mails beneath the streets of London from the 20th of February 1863. Did the abandoned programme talk about it being a pneumatic railway? No. But because that woman mentioned the steam and that, I just thought, that's it. You're going to pretend that it was something in there to keep the water out. But it was actually, and they managed to build all this and build it below the tubes. And was it built first? And there goes a little bit more information there. Wow, look at that. It's hard to believe that they managed to get... Wow, look at that. Look how wide the track is and the tunnel. Yeah. I mean, there is quite a lot of information here. If you want to stop the video and read this, please stop the video and read it. There it is. So why can't they be honest and just say that it is a pneumatic train? They can't do that because this was built before the tubes and the trains, or maybe trains were about. The very old looking ones were probably them. But they had this. This is far more sort of mechanical, sophisticated. Come on. What the hell is going on?
But the constructors faced many problems and challenges.
London is really built on a big swamp, an estuary. And so, as a result, when you start digging underground, it's very damp, muddy, sandy, silty.
And they in fact encountered one of the largest subterranean rivers in the area called the Fleet River.
Yes, the Fleet River is the largest of London's subterranean rivers, all of which today contain foul water for treatment. All of which today contain foul water for treatment. It has been used as a sewer since the development of Joseph, whatever that is, London Sewer, in the mid-1900s, with the water being treated at. So why don't they link that into the trains then? Does the River Fleet run under London? Right, there you go. So it does, in a subterranean landscape. Wow. Deep in the bowels of London, you can find vast network of subterranean rivers. Can you still see the river? One of London begins its journey, so obviously you can, above ground there. Was Fleet Street a river? What happened to Fleet Street in London? In the 18th century, it became increasingly polluted. From 1730 to 1830, the Fleet was gradually covered over and submersed into the storm relief drains. What happened to the Fleet River? See, this has been done a lot earlier, 1730s to 1870s. Well, that's what that's saying, isn't it? Let's have a look at see if there's any more questions, because everything always contradicts itself. What river? How many rivers run under London? Let's have a look. 12 hidden rivers. Wow. What is the lost river in London? There you go. The River Fleet. So where does it start and end? There you go. But it's now included into a sewage system. But they don't mention the tubes at all, which would have to be, because maybe they did all this at the same time. And if they did this in the 1800s, which it says, well, let's just find that one again, because you know you have to find a little bit. Where is it? There. So if this was all happening from the 1730s to the 1870s, then that pneumatic mail train was probably down there before that, if they've done all that. And then how could they do all that if it was the 1730s? If all the pictures they show us and paintings with the great big high ceilings with paintings all over them, they've got mud roads. Doesn't kind of fit together, does it?
And so water ingressing into the tunnels was a big problem during engineering.
There were incidences when they were digging the tunnels and many workers had to run for their lives to get away from the water bursting through.
I don't think people understand how much of where we live is abandoned. Because they said that we found something better. But what I've seen, what they did with the trains was it was private, public, private, buying stock. So just always about money. Not about you, not about your time schedules, not about making a cheap, effective way to travel the people, as there's so many of us. They're making a hell where they transition from one to the other, then back again. Then we were electric, then we've become diesel and, what's the other one? Diesel and coal, you know, so steam. Oh, right. And then they've had to change everything and spend all that money to change us back to electric. It's disgusting, isn't it? And I actually found out the railway line near me is one of the oldest in England. You've got things like this here, you know, these are supposedly from the Second World War. We've got things like that abandoned. You know, we're not just talking of one or two. We're talking of hundreds of places that have just been abandoned. Even towns now. Half of a town is abandoned. In America, loads of towns are abandoned. You know, and then they want to drag it all down and put new stuff in. But it's probably because this stuff here is older than they say it is. And then they get rid of it to cover up the fact that it was that old in the first place. And then most of us, because we've only realised recently, look at that one. Just look at that. Wow. We just didn't realise as we were growing up. What the hell is happening to the place that we live in? How proud can you be when 3/4 of America is abandoned? Same here, the same everywhere. People just aren't looking properly at how much is abandoned. I actually think, you know, like say for instance that one, that these things were probably built on the edge of the land, whatever they were. And they probably go down as well. But they're not now. They're out in the sea. But abandoned really, and one of them has been turned into a hotel. Something's happening on another one. But, you know, to build them, come on. We've had all these wars. How would we have ever had the money to make these things with all the wars happening? Wow, just what a place we're living in. We know that it's many buildings, like big buildings like this, and great big industries. It's not just America, it's Russia, it's not just Russia, it's England, it's not just England, it's Europe, it's not just this. This is what these people do. They just want to keep making money, right? And they use your money, but they tell you that they need to do it to make it such a much better place, when really all they're doing is launder. It's like money laundering, isn't it? Let's pretend we're going to make the world a much, much better place. But look what they're leaving behind. I'm sorry. There's something not right about all this. So much of it. When we know that we live in buildings like this too. At the same time, it's all a bit It's just what, you just leave it to rot away. Look at it. How can... I don't know quite what to make of it all. You've got, you know, like, for instance, I don't know how everybody can smile or think it's funny to have a world like this, and that the governments aren't taking, you know, they look at that place there. They're going on to us about all this, you know, gleebly, I can't think of another word for warming, but you know, that lot. And but look what they're leaving. Look what they've abandoned. Look what they've left us to live around. What do they care about us if they leave us living in a place like this after they've taken all the money and pretended it was to make your life so much better, when actually all that's really happened is they've just destroyed nearly everything to make their game plan for whatever it is, because we know that it's just ongoing 24 hours a day, battering everybody down, lying to everybody. You know, I mean, you know, even castles are abandoned. Like, why do we abandon everything all the time? You know. Anyway, let's just move on in the video. Was I just wanted to make that point that I just don't think people are aware of how much. Look, I'll tell you what, let's put in, I've put in world machinery, so let's put in, we'll just put in a couple more, right. Abandoned hospitals. Let's see what that brings up for us. There's always going to be abandoned hospitals. Everywhere. Some of them will be here. Some of them will be in America, Russia, wherever. Germany, France. How can we be happy that we're living around all this stuff decaying? So let's put in schools. I don't think people realise the scale. Schools. Oh, got to press the button. There you go. Same issue. Why? Golly. I'd say these people are bankrupt. They really are treating us like animals. What do they care? Just look at it all. People have, you know, what, you want to live amongst all this?
One of the things they did was to add airlocks, and then they pushed air into those sections of tunnel.
Yeah, pneumatic trains, see?
They also used floodgates in portions of the tunnel, so if water did come in, they could isolate those sections of tunnel which were full of water and then quickly pump the water out.
I wanted to find one where maybe, you know, as you're walking up the stairs or along there, you feel, or you see people's skirts move because these tubes are coming into the station. I am just wondering, when you look at the pneumatic trains and you look at these ones, that they look very similar. And does it really mean that tubes, even if now they're diesel or something else, but when they were made, they were pneumatic, or they still are, and they're lying, because don't forget, aeroplanes don't use as much petrol as they say, and so forth. So over time we found out all the other truths. What's your thoughts to that then? Just adding this bit extra as I suddenly thought about that. does what they're talking about there fit in with all this? If this was already here, then yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, they already had that there. They didn't have to build it. It was already, they could use this, couldn't they? Because this was all, well, this was already there, so they didn't need to do what she said. Because they'd already done it. It's crazy, isn't it, when you actually listen to what they're saying?
These trains do not have drivers. They don't have engineers. So it's really the first driverless electric vehicle system in the world.
The system meant they could speed mail right across London, avoiding the congestion on the streets above.
There you go. So it said when it opened, but I don't believe that date. It was the world's first driverless electrified railway as it peaks it's transported. What was the first underground railway in the world? Let's have a look. They say here it's started all by at least 1843, if not 1869, right? The tubes. The mail train is the deepest tunnel. They're saying that the tunnelling work was completed in 1917, but because of the war it wasn't finished until 1923, something like that. But here you can clearly see, let's put it down a little bit more, that in 1861 there was a pneumatic train going to the post office, Northwest District. So why would the TV programme lie? And it took me quite a lot to find all this, because I told you if you ask the question direct you never find it, and then suddenly when you're not looking for it, oh, there it is. So this one was done, I suppose really you could say, because he said the let's have a look again. I think actually I do remember thinking about this. Because there's always so much to take in that sometimes you miss things. And it says there steam trains start operating under the Thames River, and I've watched something about that, like it would have marked things and done things because of the steam. But there you go, it probably is the same thing, because look at the date. Look at the dates here and look where it's going to. It's going to the post office. So this is telling you where it's going, but they have to add, so what's that, the 60s, that's 70, 80, 90, 900, 10. They've got to add another 50 years on top and put the sort of starting it probably before the First World War, then it's finished after the First World War. So adding a few more years into this project when it clearly states here it was there in the 1800s. Anyway, that's what this video's about. In the world. Metropolitan Railway. Where's that? Doesn't say. Is that in England then? Oh, it must be England then. It's not saying another country. Metropolitan line, yeah. I don't know what I was thinking then. What happened to the Royal Mail train? See, it's going to be turned into a museum. Oh, that's about the train. Sorry, that's not about the tube. I want the tube stuff. What was the first London Underground train? It was the Metropolitan, see, in 1863. So that other thing had to be there because it was low. It was lower. What, you're going to build underneath them? Why would you do that with all the weight of these to build underneath it to make another one? Wouldn't you have built the pneumatic one and then build these in between, because the pneumatic one was built so deep? What is the oldest tube line in order? No order. Got to go there and look it up on a site. What is the world's second oldest underground railway? There you go. That one's in Budapest. But we just want, when did the Royal Train stop? 2003. So cool. It's going for quite a long time, but obviously it's a museum now. Is the Royal Which is the deepest tube line in London? It won't say the Royal Mail, will it? Or the Northern Line, but we already know that the Royal Mail one is, yes, they're this deep. See? Deeper. Central Line, 1900. Yeah. What is the youngest tube line? We'll just have a look. The Jubilee. Oh, the Metropolitan and the youngest Jubilee. Who invented the London Tube? Let's have a look. There you go. Look at that. That looks kind of mystifying, doesn't it? He was as a foot tunnel in 1843, but by 1869 enough money had been raised from visiting tourists to develop it into a transport cargo right under the Thames River. Wow. That sounds even more, doesn't it? Wow, look at that. There's two underneath that foot tunnels that go underneath the Thames. Wow. See, I told you that you have to go the long way round to find a bit of information you need, because I already looked it all up, but when I was looking up again, this is what it says. The Thames Tunnel. He wanted to transport passengers and goods from Wapping to the other side of the river. This company ultimately became part of the London Underground. So there you go, see. So all that stuff had to be done. It wasn't done for the mail train. That obviously was first, and it had it done there. And that's incredible, because it's got to be a few hundred years older than you think it is. Well, because nothing's what they say it is it? Anyway, we've run out of those, but I just wanted to add that. I'm so pleased that I found that, because this is what happens. You find those little bits of information. In the pneumatic train tunnels. But they managed to build, even though they've just said that about the river, you imagine they built them before and they managed to do it, and these people are complaining how difficult it was because of the water. Well, those are a few of the things that I question, okay, and I just struggle to believe what they tell us about anything, and think that a lot of this stuff is much older, you know, and they just cannot tell the truth. Or they're reusing things, and now it's all abandoned. It's very sad we live in this abandoned place. If this was great technology, come on. How much more greater than pneumatic trains, really? And they've got rid of it. You know, I realised that, you know, London had trams, and they got rid of all of those. Wouldn't it be easier to step on a tram than to go down all those steps to the tube? I'm not saying, I've said before, I like the tubes, but wouldn't it be easier just to hop on a little tram? No, you have to go and do it on the tubes. Dirty tubes, because they did an experiment. It was much more dirty down there than on the streets. So they don't want you on the streets, they want you down there in the dirty germs. It's just ridiculous, all of it. But anyway, thanks for watching, and tell me what your thoughts are.